Coming up on Falmouth in Focus, we're hearing from local activists as they talk about reproductive rights in a post-Roe America. We're delving into Falmouth's World War II connection when American commandos practiced the storming of Normandy on nearby Cape beaches. And we're stopping by a museum packed with stories for our town's crossroads with Cape Verde. This is Falmouth in Focus, and we're getting started right now. Hello and welcome to Falmouth in Focus, our bi-monthly roundup of local events and FCTV member engagement with the community. I'm Michael Kasparian.
And I'm Eileen Preston. It's been just over a year since the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade. When that 50-year-old court precedent ended, so did the constitutionally guaranteed right to access certain reproductive services, including abortion.
Massachusetts state representatives joined a recent event here in Falmouth hosted by the activist group Reproductive Equity Now. They discussed what has changed in post-Roe America, and they mapped a path forward. Here are some scenes from that event, courtesy of the FCTV member Gail Mana.
So thank you all for coming out. Thank you for being in community. Thank you for caring about abortion access and reproductive equity in your community. There is medication abortion access here on the Cape, but this is what we would consider an access desert. Your nearest option for surgical or in-clinic abortion is going to be all the way in Attleboro.
I was just speaking with someone whose daughter is going to work out of state, and she's concerned, as is her daughter, to be moving to a place where you have less rights as a woman than you do in Massachusetts. It shouldn't be. I'm a proud co-sponsor of Senate 1114 and House 1599, an act enhancing access to abortion care. This legislation would require the Department of Public Health to provide information on legitimate reproductive health care providers and combat misinformation. We must ensure that pregnant individuals have access to accurate information and are not misled by anti-abortion organizations fraudulently posing as health clinics.
After many meetings with many different groups, and through a very significant grant from the legislature that Senator Moran was very supportive of as well, we finally got health imperatives, the money to be providing abortion care on Cape Cod and on Martha's Vineyard this summer for the first time in decades, and on the islands maybe for the first time in generations. So I think that's something that we should all be mindful of when all these national conversations are happening. There's still work we can be doing on the ground level, and to date it's still only medication abortion. So we need to make sure that we expand to medical abortion, surgical abortion as well, on the islands, on the Cape. So I think that should be our next kind of local push here. But know that, we're pushing here on Massachusetts to make sure everyone has access. We got work to do on the Cape and Islands still, though. So let's keep rolling up our sleeves and doing it. So thank you.
Learn more about the group that put on the event at reproequity.org. Falmouth officials and experts have been conducting an intensive review of a local beach management plan that was drafted in 2008. The recent Save Our Beach Summit, hosted by the Falmouth Public Library, underscored the importance of our local beaches above and beyond their role in anchoring the summer tourist economy.
But the beaches face serious threats from erosion and the uncertainties of climate change. Here now are some of the key moments from the beach summit.
We talk about depth of a beach, but we also have to think about the deepness of the sand, right? And we've all noticed as we enter Minot Beach that we've started to have to drop down from where we used to walk in. You actually have like a little cliff now. Well, he gave us a measurement in 1 year's time that showed something like 18 inches of depth taken away. Think of that. Think of that. We think about old Chappie shorter and we can only fit 35 towels on it now, but we don't think about the actual beach getting taken away on the top of the sand. So that's what we're looking at, and you're going to hear a lot more from the beach committee about first line of defense, and you heard today some discussion about the dunes and the purpose of dunes, and it isn't just to keep a beach so you can go there in the summer. It's really to save our town's infrastructure and our town's real estate and roads and so on. So we're very concerned about it, and we're starting to look, and that's why we have this meeting today.
Those beaches are also a buffer to what's behind them. So you've got a lot of roads and development and infrastructure that can all benefit from having as healthy of a beach as possible.
The two bathhouses at Old Silver and Surf Drive, and looking at, an emergency plan for if there's a storm damage, what's the plan for immediate operations and how we prepare for that. And then we're also looking at long-term, if we reach a point where we can no longer maintain a facility, particularly at Surf Drive, which is the more vulnerable of them, what operations do we keep there? Is it possible that we could be relocating the offices further away from the water where they're less vulnerable? Talking about eliminating any permanent structures for food concessions in the long term, and just having a mobile food truck, which just leaves us with the bathrooms and, what is the best solution there? Is it fully portable, somewhat portable, but it's left there until there's really a problem?
What type of fencing is good to be used on the beaches? Are we doing it for, retaining the sand and keeping the dunes built up? Are we doing it to protect the wildlife that are on the beaches? Where should we use fencing, and what type of fencing should be used? And that needs to be determined quickly, because we need to replace a lot of the damaged fencing.
Vegetation is an important part of sort of holding the sand in place. And one of the suggestions that was made, there are other communities that have volunteer revegetation programs. The grasses are relatively inexpensive to acquire, and we could try to organize Girl Scout troops and other volunteers to sort of help every year to revegetate the beaches.
We're concerned about everything right now, and anyone who walks the beach after any given storm is seeing what we're all seeing.
You can see the beach summit in its entirety on FCTV's government channel, which, for a little while longer, is on channel 15.
And that's where we have to pause a second for explanation. FCTV channels are about to be reassigned on your cable system.
The changes are happening on September 21st. The public or community channel, which you've watched up to now on channel 13, will now be on channel 6. The education channel is moving from 14 to 8. And the government channel, which you've seen on channel 15, is moving to channel 9.
Nothing will change with regard to FCTV streaming over services like YouTube, Apple TV, and Roku. And if you feel confused from all those numbers we threw at you, don't worry. Just stop by fctv.org/move and you'll find all the information.
Still to come, remembering September 11th here in Falmouth, and wartime history on the shores of Washburn Island. That's straight ahead.
A message from the Upper Cape Women's Coalition.
We firmly believe that conflicts within our homes, our community, and our country can be resolved by listening to each other, learning from each other, and respecting each other.
Renewed efforts to ensure that women's lives are safe, free of fear, intimidation, and violence in our homes, at work, and in our neighborhoods, no matter where we're from, whom we love, or how we identify.
Women's bodies are respected. A healthcare system that takes our needs seriously, from research to treatment to supporting women making decisions about when and if to start a family.
Women's work is valued, We are paid and promoted equally, so we are able to retire with dignity. Women's families are supported. Policies allowing women to make responsible decisions between family and work. Women are represented from school boards to the White House, and all votes are protected and counted.
We send you warm wishes to all.
It has become a somber annual ritual, the ringing of a bell at Falmouth Fire Station to commemorate the sacrifices made on the morning of September 11th, 2001. A twisted steel girder from the destroyed Twin Towers is a permanent monument to the lives lost that day. The monument was built with contributions from local Falmouth residents. 343 New York firefighters gave their lives during the 9/11 rescue efforts. Hundreds more died from rare health problems later, believed to be caused by the toxic substances released into the air. Falmouth Fire Chief Timothy Smith led those in attendance in a reflection of that horrific day.
Regardless of ongoing issues related to societal, economic, and political issues that impact our lives, we must continue to stand united during trying times and avoid being divided over issues, but remain resilient as a community and to be kind to one another each and every day.
9/11 unleashed 2 decades of U.S. military involvement in Afghanistan.
Almost 60 years prior to 9/11, America was preoccupied with a different war effort. World War II was raging. The D-Day invasion of Normandy had not happened yet, but U.S. soldiers were practicing for it.
And here's the thing, they were practicing right here in our locality, based on Washburn Island. The Cape Cod Military Museum has been educating local residents about the years Washburn was at war. Here's a clip of their recent event in the Minot Yacht Club.
Across that water, that strip of sand right there is the start of Washburn Island. This was the causeway that was intact in 42 and 43, and they would drive equipment and things over to Washburn to build all the buildings and things that they had on that island before they built the pontoon bridge and the solid bridge down at Ovington Point. This is an LCPR, which is landing craft vehicle, landing craft personnel R, which has a ramp. You can see it has a small ramp. The guys are all jammed up trying to get out of it. They had those here because, again, this is very early in the training. And here's the LCVP. But this Jeep came from Washburn, is being landed on Martha's Vineyard. Some of these surprise landings were not graciously received by the Coast Guardsmen guarding Martha's Vineyard. Many a guy ended up looking down the barrel of a .45. Because, you know, this boat lands, you know, this is right after, you know, it's a few months after Pearl Harbor. Everyone's edgy. So, but not everybody was so unkind to visitors on Martha's Vineyard. If you landed on Jimmy Cagney's estate, he'd bring you in and make you lunch. Okay? In fact, Jimmy Cagney and Miss Catherine Cornell, she's the woman on the left in the stage door canteen, entertained the entire 544th Regiment of the 4th Engineer Special Brigade in August of 1943. Ducks, this is Provincetown. Imagine driving that duck off that cliff. I don't think they let you do that now. They did the scientific evaluation of the duck in Provincetown because the sand was very similar to Normandy. There would have been target towing planes for the .50 caliber shooting. There'd be planes have been simulating strafing on the beach, smoke screens, smoke mortars going off. It was very, very exciting to be living around the island in 1942. The training was very frenetic, and the pressure to have forces ready for the cross-channel invasion was intense. There were no days off, very hard training, merciless instructors, and very few passes, and morale was actually very low. They had no movies on the island. In fact, they only had, they couldn't even show training films because they only had DC current electricity on the island. Soldiers that couldn't stand the constant training without a break would go AWOL. Not desert, but sneak off the base for a night on the town. Ironically, the EAC had trained the soldiers exactly how to do this. You had to make a little raft, so you put all your clothes in the little raft, swim across to the mainland, and then you get dry clothes to get into.
You can see the Cape Cod Military Museum's full presentation of Washburn at War on FCTV's community channel. Check our online schedule for times at fctv.org.
The Falmouth Rotary Club recently held its annual craft fair to benefit its year-long calendar of charitable programs. FCTV's Tony Sedera caught a glimpse of the merchandise on display.
Hi, I'm Amy Leonardi. I am the club president of the Rotary Club of Falmouth, Cape Cod, and I'm here at our 23rd annual craft fair. This year we have over 70 vendors, some returning and some new, with artisans for everything from photography, painting, jewelry, arts and crafts, sewing. Even some local kids are selling their wares, which is wonderful. It's been a great turnout. This is an annual fundraiser for our club, which helps with admission and concessions and raffle support. It helps support our youth programs, including scholarships, our RILA program, Interact, outdoor education, our girls' school in Nepal that we help support, and Safe Passage in Guatemala. We have some amazing sponsors, including Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Windfall, Stop and Shop, and Cumberland Farms that help us make this event a reality every year. It's well attended. We have a banner year attendance this year, which is wonderful. Our entertainment this year has been Turning Point Dance Studio, which is always a highlight with the young dancers. We also had the Surf Drive Band, the Andy Sexton Trio, the Shining Sea Strummers, and local vocalist Samantha Bauer from Inspiration is Everywhere. So this event takes us a whole year of planning every year to put together, and pretty much every single Rotarian is involved from the planning and volunteering for the day of. It's pretty labor intensive. We're here from the Friday before until Sunday night at 7. So we're here 12-hour days making this event a reality. So you can join Rotary. It's an international organization with over 1.4 million people in over 80 countries worldwide. It's service-oriented. Every club is different with their focus. The Rotary Club of Falmouth is very youth-oriented. You can join the Falmouth Rotary Club of Falmouth by just going to our website and coming to one of our meetings. And then we have you come in, meet us all, and then you can become a member. And we have so many service projects, everything from delivering Cape Kids meals once a month to the Falmouth Public School kids, to putting up outdoor education tents, to picking up trash on our beaches. The sky's the limit with what we can do, and we are very, very service-oriented. In fact, our fiscal year, which started in July, we're already over 300 hours as a club with community service hours.
The Falmouth Rotary does a wide range of events throughout the year. Find out more at falmouthrotary.com/events. Still to come, it's back to school as Falmouth teachers and staff hold convocation.
The most wonderful time of the year. And the Upper Cape Camera Club previews some beautiful photos. You're invited to see them for yourself and many more at an ongoing Falmouth Art Center exhibit. We'll have a look in just a minute.
Falmouth Education Channel 14 is on the move to Channel 8.
That's right. Beginning September 21st, Comcast Channel 14 will now be Channel 8.
Due to the channel lineup changes, you may see other channels change numbers, including the rest of Falmouth Public Access Television.
Along with educational content, the FHS Morning News will still be here every weekday at 7:20 a.m.
Just now on Channel 8 instead of Channel 14.
For additional viewing options, please go to fctv.org.
Falmouth Public Schools have kicked off the new school year. Teachers and staff gathered in the Falmouth High School auditorium to reflect on the educational journey that lies ahead. FCTV's Ryan Weber brings us a sample of that event.
I hope your backpacks are empty. I spent all summer getting mine empty, and I'm ready for the school year, so I hope you are too. And talking about doing nothing new, I also think we need to honor our traditions, and so I'd like to welcome the Falmouth High School Marching Band.
I love the Clipper culture. So we have these kids excelling, but we have adults, all our teachers coming in, help and support. We have VIPs, we have our community partners, we have counselors, and we have fantastic teachers, all making sure that our kids are excelling.
The best thing about Falmouth Public Schools is the teachers and how welcoming they are into, if you're going into new schools, because I know I had that experience going into East Falmouth, because I was very scared of going on the big bus. And all the teachers were just welcoming, and they let me go and knew that it was a safe place to go.
And all the teachers and your fellow students here, it really just makes it feel like one big community and family. And it makes it a place that, personally, I would like to come back to later. And just, it seems like a great place to spend the rest of my life here in this community.
This month, the Upper Cape Camera Club is holding a photography exhibit with a twist. It's taking place at the Falmouth Arts Center.
The photos are beautiful, but none of them are printed on paper. The head of the club stopped by our studio to give us a preview.
My name is Claudine Riley. I'm the president of the Upper Cape Camera Club, and I'm here to tell you about a show that we have, an exhibit that's currently being shown at the Falmouth Arts Center on Gifford Street. The club has been in existence for about 18 years, and we're made up of a group of all kinds of photographers, from beginners to experienced amateurs. And we always welcome guests at our meeting. I'd like to tell you a little bit about this exhibit that we have, because it's very, very different. The name of the exhibit is Any Medium Other Than Paper. These are exhibits of photos that are printed on things that you would never think of printing a photo on. So, without further ado, let me tell you a little bit about some of the pictures that you might be seeing if you go to the Art Center to see this exhibit. This is an arched bridge that was printed on metal. So it's very crisp and clear, shiny. You can imagine what metal would be like. It's very shiny and clear. And you can see very clearly all the different shading of light. You can see very clearly all the tiny little leaves and all of the detail that you find in the stonework of this bridge. And it was done by Frank Fernino. This image is done by one of our newer members, Eric Lennon, and this is Winter at Highfield. So if any of you are familiar with Highfield, you know that last year they had this beautiful architecture that had been built on their grounds. And Eric went in the wintertime and got a fabulous photo of that. And it's printed on metal, so again, it's going to be very shiny, very crisp, and very clear. Now we have a black and white image, also printed on metal. It's a lighthouse, obviously in front of rocks, and you get all those beautiful clouds, all the different shading of black and white and everything in between, and it's a lovely image done by one of our new members, Mike Clem. This one, of course, is the Milky Way, and this was printed on aluminum film, and it was done by Phil Richardson, one of our very experienced photographers, and you can see how the texture, again, is very crisp, very clear. Night photography is not easy. You need lots of equipment, and kudos to Phil. This one is very unusual. This is done by one of our comedian photographers, Tom Noonan, and it's called Get Me Out of the Box. And it's a silhouette, obviously, that he took of somebody, and he printed it on cardboard, if you can believe printing something on cardboard. Get me out of the box. This picture is mine. I'm the author, and this is printed on canvas. It's a portrait of a 18-year-old teenager, senior in high school, seniorology, if you will, and been experiencing with light and getting things to be very unfocused in the background, but very focused on the face, but not too sharp. So that's mine. This one was done by Jen Cano, and it's very unusual because this is done on a cotton blanket, which also can be hung as a tapestry, it's hung as a tapestry at the show. And it's not just printed on the cotton fabric, it is actually imprinted into the weaving of the cotton. So it's very unusual and very striking. This is one of our very experienced, wonderful photographers, Jack Mara, who got a shot of the knob at a very, very perfect time to make it look like this. It's very large print, it's done on metal, and it's also framed. So it's a beautiful piece, and it's waiting for your viewing at the Art Center.
The Falmouth Art Center is open 7 days a week, but hours vary. Stop by falmouthart.org to plan your visit to the photo exhibit.
Cape Verdeans are an important part of the cultural and economic history of Falmouth, as well as other towns across the Cape and Massachusetts.
They began arriving here from their home islands off West Africa in the 1800s, ready to work hard and begin a new life. In those early days, the hard work was mainly in whaling.
But over time, Cape Verdean Americans would distinguish themselves in agriculture, the U.S. military, and countless other aspects of American life. FCTV's Bob Fenstermaker recently stopped by the Cape Cod Cape Verdean Museum and Cultural Center in East Falmouth for a look. He spoke with FCTV member Barbara Burgo.
In 2021, the Cape Verdean Museum and Cultural Center was established. We started in 2019, but in 2021, it opened its doors here at the Emerald House to help educate people from all over the country and now internationally. Last month, we had the Consul General of Cape Verde and the Minister of Communities from Cape Verde come and visit this museum, and they couldn't be happier with what we've done. It's modest, but it's full of information, so we encourage everyone. If we all want to feel like we belong, you can't really belong to a community who knows nothing about you. If the community knew more about the roots of the Cape Verdean experience here on Cape Cod, we'd all be better off. We should learn more about every culture. You know, this Emerald House was the former home of folks from the Azores. Portuguese were our colonizers, but there's Portuguese blood running through all of us Cape Verdeans. So it doesn't do any good to try to denigrate one and lift up the other. I wear my natural, as you can see, on purpose as a symbol that I am part African as well. What is wrong with being African? So in Cape Verdeans, there are so many cultures flowing through our veins that I'd like to say we're brothers and sisters to everyone, and everyone should belong. And so we're less rich a community without understanding each other, and with better understanding, you have better opportunities to work together and all thrive. When Cape Verdeans hear of us, and word of mouth is our best, that we exist and there's something really rich to come here and see, even in this small space. Once people get here, they don't want to leave. Once they leave, they want to come back over and over again and tell their families. So when folks visit, because the emotions are all over the place. Very high, usually, very grateful, and some can't even speak. That I like them to please sign the book if they can. And this was by a 21 or 2-year-old young man who was too shy to say it, but he said I could read it out loud. When he came on June 17th, he said, "Today I was given a piece of myself and where my people came from. Thank you."
And that's going to wrap this edition of Falmouth in Focus. We're always on the lookout for your pictures, videos, and story ideas.
Use the hashtags MyFalmouth and Falmouth in Focus when sharing your images, and they may end up on the air. We'll go out on a few of those images now. I'm Eileen Preston.
And I'm Michael Kasparian. See you next time.